Welcome back to the NWR Virtual Healthcare Conference. Next up, we have Dr. Bradley Glover, the COO of Imugene. It's a bit of a late lineup change with Bradley standing in for the CEO, Leslie Chong, who's dealing with a bout of COVID, but we're pleased to have Bradley join us instead. Imugene is a clinical stage immuno-oncology company developing a range of new and novel immunotherapies that seek to activate the immune system of cancer patients to treat and eradicate tumours. The pipeline includes an off-the-shelf allogeneic cell therapy CAR-T drug known as AER Cell, which is focused on blood cancers, and Oncolytic Virus therapy CF33, which is aimed at treating a variety of cancers in combination with standard of care drugs and emerging immunotherapies such as CAR-Ts. And this is targeted toward solid tumours. Just a reminder for questions, if you have a question you'd like to submit, please feel free to do so using the option within Zoom. But I'll hand it over to Bradley.
Great, thank you very much, Matt. So hello, my name is Brad Glover, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Imugene. I'm pleased to share with you an overview of our company and our pipeline today. We believe Imugene is well positioned to deliver meaningful therapies for the patients that we serve. Here is our disclaimer, a lot of text there. So Imugene leverages 4 platform technologies to address multiple disease areas, including hematological malignancies and solid tumors. With 5 clinical studies ongoing, our priorities include a phase 1b in DLBCL with our allogeneic cell therapy ASR Cell, a phase 1 in solid tumors with our Oncolytic Virus CF33, and a combination study leveraging our Oncolytics platform that combines our Oncolytic Virus with a CD19 targeting agent. We have in-house cell therapy process development and manufacturing capabilities that enable Imugene to translate its research into drug product. We have a market cap of roughly 800 million Australian or 520 in USD, and we have sufficient cash to enable ongoing operations well into 2025. We have a long life patent portfolio to protect our IP, and we're excited to share more about our pipeline with you. So first, people do the work, so let me introduce our team if you don't already know them. And we have a leadership team with over 150 years of combined experience in clinical development, 13 FDA-approved drugs to market across multiple modalities. I think if you look at the companies here, you'll recognize most of those names, and it ranges from small molecule to large molecule to cell therapy. So really a broad skill set here to focus and bring to bear on some of the therapeutic areas we're interrogating. So this slide further articulates our therapeutic focus across cancer indications. We have our allo CAR-T therapy that I've already introduced a little bit, and that's our ASR Cell product. It's a CD19 CAR-T, and currently we're in phase 1b with blood cancers. Our next platform is Oncolytics. This is a CF33 CD19 CAR-T combination therapy. Our OASIS trial is currently in phase 1, and it's focused on solid cancers. I'll talk a little bit more later in the presentation about our opportunity to combine that with blinatumomab, which is an anti-CD19 bispecific antibody, as well as our in-house ASR cell therapy. It's a very dynamic platform that really can go after solid tumors in a unique way. I've also mentioned our CF33 Oncolytic Virus, Vaccinium, and we currently have an ongoing mass trial in dose escalation, and that's in phase 1, addressing solid tumors. And I'll briefly mention a little bit our 4th platform, B-cell immunotherapy, and we'll go a little bit deeper in future slides on that. So first up, let's talk a little bit about ASR Cell. So as the title suggests, we believe that patients should not have to wait for treatment, and that an allogeneic cell therapy represents a stronger value proposition compared to autologous therapies. Autologous cell therapies are made from a patient's own starting material, and they often require long and complex manufacturing processes. They typically have higher cost of goods, or COGM, and require large manufacturing facilities with large numbers of square footage and high CapEx spend. Unfortunately, the patient's own cells, which serve as the starting material, give rise to process and product variability due to the health of the cells. AlloCAR T, on the other hand, are made from healthy universal donors and yield multiple patient doses from a single batch. AlloCAR T lends itself to a more make-to-stock model, more traditional model where you're making to an inventory that allows us to maintain a ready inventory for when patients need their therapy. AlloCAR T represents a more cost-efficient and effective model. Let me talk a little bit about what we've seen in the clinic so far with AER Cell. Imugene's AER Cell is an allogeneic CD19 that has treated over 84 patients to date with meaningful clinical activity. We've had 61 NHL patients, and what we see is a remarkable 58% overall response rate and a 41% complete response. We also have 23 patients in ALL, and there we see a 61% OR and a 61% complete response rate. When we take a little bit closer look at some of this data, what we see is in the NHL patients, those are the 61 patients, the folks that had had previous lines of CAR T or CAR T relapsed, there were 18 patients. And when you look at that population, what you discover is that 83% overall response rate, and that 61% complete response rate and a 55% duration of response greater than 6 months. This is an incredible result. And let me tell you a little bit more about how we're approaching that in 2024 and 2025. So Imugene is continuing to enroll patients in its phase 1b with AER Cell, and we anticipate a potential registrational trial in 2024 or early 25, depending on acceptable CR rates and durability. We have over 35 sites planned in the US to support the trial. And importantly, our clinical supply for the phase 1b has been manufactured at our North Carolina manufacturing facility and is available right now for dosing. We have adequate production capacity to support not only the phase 1b, but also phase 2 as well. And so Imugene leverages where other companies have challenges supplying cell therapy production for their trials. Imugene is uniquely positioned to have access to adequate supply to support its therapy. So we'll move on to CF33, which is our oncolytic virus platform. So as I mentioned, CF33 is an oncolytic virus and can infect and selectively kill tumor cells. After CF33 infects the cancer cell, it replicates itself and lyses the cell to perpetuate the process and in turn kills the cell. CF33 is effective by not only directly killing the cells through lysis, but also activations of the patient's immune system and can turn cold tumors into hot tumors. We are currently in a phase 1 dose escalation with our masked trial, and we're administering both IT and IV in combination with Pembro. We expect to expand our cohorts into specific tumor types of interest, including cholangiocarcinoma. Let me show you just a little bit of our initial results so far in the masked trial. We have seen evidence of success with a CR in a monotherapy patient with a cold tumor in bile duct cancer, which is a significantly challenging cancer to treat. Compared to a baseline scan, you can see here on the left and in the red circle, you can see complete remission by the 4th scan in the far right, the shrinkage of that lesion. This patient has received 3 prior lines of chemo and was PD-L1 negative with no response to those therapies prior to CF33 treatment. This is an exciting response, and we're looking forward to continuing our dose escalation in the MASS trial, and we'll keep you updated. So I'd like to move on now to our Oncolytics platform. And so this is combining, as we talked about before, combining our oncolytic virus with an anti-CD19 targeting agent. It's important to know a little bit about CD19 drugs. These drugs have been effective for blood cancers. Many blood cancers, such as leukemia, lymphoma, have a common protein on their cell surface called CD19, and you've heard autologous therapies that have been effective in treating these cancers. And when you modify a patient's T cell through these therapies, the therapies, the T cells are now able to see the CD19 signal, and the T cell becomes laser focused on only targeting CD19. Now, while that may work in hematological malignancies like DLBCL and others, solid cancers are more of a challenge. Solid cancers like breast, lung, gastric, and other tissues have a variety of surface antigens, a heterogeneity of their surface antigens, and not really have a common target such as CD19 on their cell surface. And in a sense, the holy grail in CAR T therapy is to find a CAR T which works in solid tumors. And solid tumors represent 80 to 90% of the total cancer market. So you can imagine what the opportunity is there, as well as patient need. So Imugene's Oncolytics technology seeks to overcome this challenge in solid tumors. We have developed an oncolytic virus that not only infects and kills tumor cells, but also causes the tumor cell to express CD19 on the cell surface. We plan to then chase the CD19 tagged tumor cells with an anti-CD19 therapy, like an antibody or cell therapy, which can eradicate the tumor. We have a study, a phase 1 study called the OASIS study. This is a phase 1 study designed to treat patients with multiple solid tumors with our CF33 CD19 alone or in combination with blinatumomab, which is a CD19 targeting bispecific antibody. We dosed our first IT, intratumoral patient, on the OASIS study at the City of Hope in Q4 of 2023, and an IV in Q1 of this year. We are planning to enroll OASIS across 10 sites in the United States. As I mentioned in the beginning of my talk, besides monoclonal antibodies or other CD19 targeting agents, we have an opportunity to leverage our in-house AER Cell CD19 CAR T therapy in partnership with the Oncolytics program. In preclinical studies, we have seen Oncolytics combined with AER Cell deliver robust results with 100% killing in breast cancer and gastric cancer cell lines. You can see in this graph that autologous cell therapy and AER Cell, you can see the performance compared to a mock of the killing of these two different cell lines. And the fact that they go to a 100% killing of these cell lines is significant. Typically in these experiments, you don't see that much. You see a flat line of killing around 60 to 80%. This demonstrates that the Oncolytics platform can deliver robust results. We are exploring next steps on moving this combination into the clinic in the near future. I'll talk a little bit about B-cell immunotherapies. With our B-cell immunotherapy platform, we have seen encouraging data in non-small cell lung carcinoma in our completed imprinter study with a CR and PRs and stable disease being observed. With this study completing, we have pivoted to a study in a disease area of higher unmet medical need, MSI high colon cancer. Our first patient enrolled is planned for the first half of 2024 with 10 sites, and we're currently undergoing feasibility. This will be a phase 2 neoadjuvant treatment, IST and MSI colorectal cancer targeting roughly 44 patients. And we're really excited about getting that trial moving. We expect our robust pipeline to deliver key catalysts over the next 1 to 2 years. In 2024, we will progress our Oncolytic OASIS trial with IT and IV, mono and combo cohorts. Based upon what we observe in 2024, we plan to initiate our IT and IV combo expansion. We will continue to progress our CF33 vaccinia program with expansion cohorts planned in mid-year. In 2024, we will also continue to enroll patients, as we mentioned, in our AER Cell phase 1b and potentially target a regulatory meeting with the FDA toward the end of this year or early next. Late 2024 and 2025 represent key pivot points for Imugene, with continued clinical readouts and trial advancements. Imugene, we believe, and we hope you do too, represents a compelling value proposition for investors, physicians, and patients. We have an advanced portfolio with multiple shots on goal. AER Cell validates us as a leader in developing allogeneic CAR-T cell therapies. We have an experienced management team with over 150 years of combined experience in drug development and approvals. Imugene is driving ongoing clinical trials in diverse solid tumors and blood cancers with multiple value inflection points and reprioritized programs. And finally, we have a robust cash runway with a prudent use of funds to protect and conserve our cash resources. That's all I have today, and I want to thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Thanks very much, Bradley. As you've mentioned, we'll move on to the Q&A. Once again, for anyone listening, please feel free to send any questions in using the option within Zoom. The first question I have is, are we likely to see results for the combo arm of vaccinia in the near future?
So, are we likely to see combo results in the future? Well, I mean, I think if we go back here, these are the key milestone readouts that we're pretty confident. So this is a Q2 through 2025. So I think if you look at our readouts here, and granted, a lot of these are cohort initiations, opening and closing, but we expect to see that come through. You can see the IT combo expansion cohort opens projected in Q3 of 2024. So as patients come off there, and we would expect to, if we're successful, to see that data come through in 2024.
Thanks, Bradley. Another question that's come through is just with regards to the cohorts for the vaccinia phase 1 trial. Can you just provide some detail around that? Perhaps go back to that slide. And the question was specifically, is this the final cohort of that trial?
Well, I mean, I think when you do clinical trials, predicting cohorts is, is it enough? I mean, what we want to do is find the therapeutic window. We want to find through dose escalation the right level, whether it's 1e to the 8th, 3e to the 7th. We want to focus on safety, but we also want to see signal at some point. So I think to predict, are we high enough for IT or IV? It may be a little bit early at this point to say we're not going to advance beyond certain cohorts at this time. We're going to let the data drive it.
That's understandable. A more general question, there's been a fair bit of M&A activity, etc., in the US, and some of our presenters spoke to that yesterday. Knowing that you're based over there, I'd just be interested in your take on some of the recent activity in that regard, and some IPOs coming through, and how you think that affects the whole landscape.
You bet. I think over the whole industry has been in a little bit of a lull since 2020, 2021, as far as funding goes. And I think you've seen an expansion in certain types of platforms, whether it's NK cells, T cells, or radiopharmaceuticals. I think there are areas that have been growing over the past couple of years, and I think investors are now coming back on and looking at some of this. So you're seeing that some companies don't necessarily have to have a phase 2 data. They can, have phase 1 or a preclinical, and you're getting some interest there. So I think the markets are starting to loosen up a little bit there as far as investment goes. And then certainly, I think the whole industry is cautiously optimistic with some of the IPOs that we've seen across the industry, whether it's a gene editing platform or an oncolytic virus or other areas. I think the IPs are very promising, and we look forward to seeing what else happens in 2024.
Thanks, Bradley. And another question just for you. You obviously joined the company not too long ago. I suppose it's just been interesting for viewers to get an understanding as to what what attracted you to work with Imugene.
Well, I think that's a great question, and I think a lot of my colleagues probably would agree with this. The technology is fantastic. The ability to go after hematological cancers as well as solid tumors, and not just with a been there, done that type of a way, but if you look at Oncolytics and what it can deliver, it's fantastic, and we really have an opportunity to make some inroads here into cancer. So I think the technology, and then also I think you look at the leadership at this company. Leslie has been at this company and really has built something special. And of course, the senior leadership on the board, Paul Hopper and others, fantastic guidance. And it's just a really unique opportunity from a technology and a people perspective. The culture of the company, especially with the onboarding of the additional technology, AER Cell. We had some folks join us, and they're located in North Carolina. And I think they really contributed to building a wonderful culture within the company. And so I think it's a great place to work. And then, of course, the IP protection on a lot of our technologies, and then the financing. We take approach at Imugene to be really prudent. We really prioritize our pipeline tightly. And make sure that every dollar that's spent is really going to where the success in the clinic is taking us. So I think prudence and fiscal responsibility is also very attractive. So I think you put that all together, it's a fantastic opportunity.
Another question that's come through is just with regard to the FDA fast track designation that was announced a few months ago. I don't think you touched on it directly, but can you just give a little bit of color around that and what it means going forward?
Yeah, I mean, fast track designation is important to us. We think that a lot of the different programs that we have, whether it's fast track, whether it's orphan, we are addressing some hard to treat cancers and indications where other medicines have not been able to really make a dent. So I would say in general, we are looking for those opportunities, those therapeutic areas to where we can take our technology, come in and really make a difference. So very excited about it.
Another question was, why did Imugene cease its partnership with Aravella?
Right. So that's I think it's part of a similar story to what we were just talking about a second ago, and it's prioritization. And although the markets are loosening it up a little bit with, I would say, with funding and maybe it's easier to raise some money, we're still not out in the clear yet. And I think a company with a good amount of runway like we have, but we have an embarrassment of riches. We have the CF33 oncolytic virus, Oncolytics, AER Cell, and those are just for the current indications. When you start double clicking on some of that and going into the other areas, other CD19 positive cancers that we might consider, additional oncolytic virus constructs that we might use in the clinic, you start growing a portfolio and increasing a cost base. So for us, it's very important to prioritize not only internal innovation, but our external innovation as well, and making sure that we have that balance across both of those.
Another question that's just come through is Big Pharma following Oasis closely, or is Imugene doing it entirely independent of them?
Are we doing it entirely independent? Well, I think in our business development organization, Monil Shah does a fantastic job of building relationships and getting us into conversations I think a lot of folks couldn't get us into. So I think we're talking with the right folks. I think a lot of eyes are on OASIS and our oncolytic program. I mean, we're starting out with this proof of concept, which is our CF33 CD19, tagging the tumor with CD19 and then chasing it with blinatumomab, which is a CD19, CD3 T-cell engager. We think that's a compelling thesis. And if we do see the results that we hope, I think that really opens the door not only to change perhaps the cassette or the marker by the oncolytic virus, but also helps us open the door to perhaps some other companies that have therapeutics that could be coupled with it. So I think it's a robust platform, proof of concept right now. Consider using our AER Cell in combination, but then there are a lot of other opportunities. So we are getting a lot of interest and discussions and a lot of eyes on that program.
Great. Well, that's everything for today. So Bradley, thanks very much for your time, and we'll leave it at that and look forward to watching Imugene progress over the rest of the year.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time, Matt, and thank you, everyone.